It was a good week, guys. A very good week, I would say. Not a perfect week, but a good week for our guys abroad. 4 Americans win a trophy. Ricardo Pepi, Malik Tillman, Serginho Dest, and Ernie Stewart. Technically, Richie Ledesma's on that roster. I don't count him because the man didn't play a single minute all season. So, no, I don't count that as winning a trophy, but the other four certainly did. Pulisic is back amongst the goals, setting records. Lots of guys had good weeks, and that's exciting to see as we head into Copa America. Although, to be honest, guys, the thing that probably matters the most right now is can everybody just be healthy? Like, I'm not going to lie, that yellow card on Weah that'll have him miss the next match, I don't hate it. Just we need everybody healthy. We've already lost Dest, and potentially we'll see about what happens with Tyler Adams. So just get through these last few games, everyone, please, without injuries, because the last thing we need is more injuries. But what's up? Joseph says, unfair yellow for Weah. I don't know if it was that unfair. Another referee might not have given it, but I think it was fair enough. Bobby Hill, when is the next call-in show? Bobby Hill in the house again. I don't know. Last time we did a call-in show, people didn't really call in. So it's hard to do. Maybe during Copa America. Like, what I want to maybe try to do is, the previews I've been doing of the USMNT games the day of, right? So the day of, we do like a morning preview. Might add a call-in show there so that everybody can get their nervous game day energy out and talk about it. So we might do something like that. But usually on Sundays, people for whatever reason aren't as interested in a call-in show. But let me know in the comments. If you guys want a call-in show and you're going to show up for it, then we'll do it. Pete, you look tired. Are you okay? I've been stressed. Yeah. Juggling 3 jobs is not easy, especially because 2 of them are independent jobs like this, where you kind of have to make your own schedule. Juggling 3 jobs is not easy, guys. So a little tired, yeah. But happy to have a good weekend again. Leeds versus Norwich for promotion playoffs, gonna be lit. I might do the live watch along for that one next week. Next week I might, because it's Josh Sargent versus our old enemies Leeds. So that could be quite an interesting game. If Josh Sargent helps them to get promoted, what a hero he'll be there for the Norwich fans. But let's have a quick word from our sponsor before we get into this.
Underdog Fantasy Sports is back with a new and improved pick'em game across all sports that makes it easy to play fantasy sports with just a few clicks. Each sport allows you to build a parlay that includes between 2 and 5 predictions about the outcomes of player projections. As you would expect, the more picks you include, the greater the potential payout. Don't go crazy with it and play responsibly, but adding a few bucks here and there to a game gives it a little more excitement and stakes. Use my promo code 11YANKS or click the link in the description to start playing, and Underdog will match whatever you put in your account up to $100. Enjoy!
Liam Davis says, imagine Josh Sargent scoring a last-minute game winner versus Leeds. I'm dreaming about it, guys. I am dreaming about it. I might not be able to do the first leg, Rascality. The first leg is 4 a.m. for me. Yeah, I'm probably not waking up to do that. Otherwise, think how bad the tired comments will be then. I just want to see Joe and Connor cry. Let's see. What's up, Shifaro? All right, let's get started here, guys. First up in the top 10 this week is Aiden Morris of the Columbus Crew, who had a very nice goal against Monterrey in the second leg away from home against for Columbus Crew to make it to the Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup final against Pachuca. He played 74 minutes, had 1 goal, 2 out of 2 successful dribbles, 0 out of 4 accurate long balls, 4 out of 5 tackles won, 10 out of 12 ground duels won, and 3 fouls drawn. This was the goal, but truth is, he stepped into midfield when they were building out of the back, won the ball, dribbled towards the box, saw the keeper off his line, and squeezed it between the 2 center backs there. and into the far post. Aiden Morris is having a good season for Columbus. After a good season last year, right? And so good for him. He'll probably be in that Olympic roster. I still have him behind Tanner Tessman on the depth chart, to be honest. I think Tanner Tessman is the better six. But if Aiden Morris does want to continue to improve as a player and maybe fight for a national team spot one day, he is going to need to get out of MLS, right? Because he's not going to get much better than this in MLS. And he still has issues. That speed of play under pressure is a big one. Building out of the back, he still has sloppy giveaways many times. He needs to go where I think he'll really be tested and challenged, and we'll be able to see his level. Behind Maloney as well. I mean, for the senior team, he's not even in discussion for the senior team. I'm even talking about the Olympic team. I think if Morris has national team aspirations one day, he needs to get out of MLS and push into a European league, and then we can kind of see where his level. Personally, I don't think his level is very high, but, young enough that he can still work on certain things. And by the way, a lot of people will say, oh, maybe as a Gold Cup, option. I'll say right now, guys, the Gold Cup option thing is kind of over, because next year's Gold Cup in 2025 is going to be in the summer, and there aren't going to be any other USMNT tournaments because Nations League is in March now. Now that we've moved Nations League to March, Gold Cup is only going to be really the only tournament of the summer. So our first team should play the Gold Cup, right? So this idea of as a Gold Cup player doesn't really it doesn't ring true anymore, just because it's not really an option to hand out caps to guys who don't really deserve it the way we did those last two Gold Cup summers when the Nations League was there. So that isn't really going to be an option anymore. Gold Cup needs to be the A team, right? We got to get Pulisic to stat pad a little bit so he can beat Donovan and Dempsey's record. Griffin Yao, not Griffin Dorsey, Houston fans, don't get mixed up, of Westerlo got another assist this week, played 75 minutes against Saint-Truiden, had one assist, one chance created, 2 out of 4 successful dribbles, 3 out of 4 tackles won, 6 out of 12 ground duels won. And it was a nice little assist as well. The ball came over the top. He rushed in behind, and he laid it off with his first touch on sort of the half volley for his teammate to score. The game ended 2-2 between Saint-Truiden and Westerlo. So that is now 14 goal contributions. I think he's got 7 goals, 6 goals, 7 assists. No, that's 13 then. It's 14. It's 14. I think it's 6 and 8. Anyways, either way, it's 14 goal contributions. Good for him. Kind of a weird not late bloomer, because he is still only 21, but he was signed as a homegrown with DC, and he couldn't really get on the field. There was a lot of chaos in that club, and he went somewhere else, and now he's starting to produce. I don't think he's ever going to really be a serious USMNT player, but he'll probably be at the Olympics this summer, and good for him either way, right? You never know. Still 21. Alejandro Zendejas is 26. So, he's got time. He's got time on his side. Zachary Booth. There's all these guys that are sort of flying under the radar these days, just because we have so many much better players that 5 years ago it would have been ooh, is he part of the savior committee, right? But Zach Booth, younger brother of Taylor Booth, who's playing for FC Volendam, had a nice assist versus Ajax today. Played 88 minutes, got the assist, 2 chances created, 1 out of 2 successful dribbles, 1 out of 1 accurate crosses, 5 out of 13 ground duels won, 1 out of 1 aerial duels won, 2 fouls drawn, 2 fouls committed, and it was a good little cross to his teammate who was completely unmarked. But good for him. It was a consolation goal. Ajax had sort of switched off at this point toward the end. They were 4-0 up. But he's adding to his stat tally. Kevin Paredes played, I think, for the first time as a pure left back for Wolfsburg this season at least. Played 82 minutes, helped them to keep a clean sheet in their 3-0 demolishing of Darmstadt. 0 out of 1 successful dribbles, 1 out of 2 accurate crosses, 2 out of 7 accurate long balls, 4 out of 6 ground duels won, 1 out of 1 aerial duels won, and 2 fouls drawn. He was actually involved in the first goal they scored too, but just didn't get the assist. I wonder sometimes, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you guys in the chat can tell me what you think. I wonder if his best position to play at the highest level that he is capable of might end up being left back. Just because I don't know if he's got the elite ability to be a pure winger. And defensively, he's improved significantly since he's gone to Wolfsburg, which was kind of a bit of a weakness of his. And so I do wonder if long term it makes like as a winger, he might be a Eredivisie winger. But as a left back, he might be a, Bundesliga starting left back, right? So it's kind of like probably the best position for him would be a wing back, a left wing back, but we don't play with those with our national team. Thanks, Greg. But I want to see more, and I'm very curious now what they're going to do with him next season. Are they going to have him play more left back? Because that would kind of solve our backup to Anthony Robinson issues at left back. Nobody has really inspired me thus far. Not Christopher Lund, certainly not John Token. Caleb Wiley feels like he's stagnated a little bit, although he's young. Kevin Paredes would make the most sense going into 2026. Depending on how, if he continues to play there for Wolfsburg and if he continues to develop. I think at least it would be a competition between him and Lund. Although long-term, I want us to make sure we try and recruit that kid, Christian McFarlane from NYCFC Academy, who is being tracked by Manchester City right now and may end up there with them. But I like Kevin Paredes a lot. Let's see if he plays the rest of the season. I mean, he's probably going to be an Olympic guy one way or another, right? He's going to be an Olympic guy. There's a lot of actual competition on the wings with the Olympic squad. As a guy who can play left wing or left back, I think he's almost certainly a lock if Wolfsburg lets him go, which we will see. Yeah, there's also Nathaniel Brown, Judgmental Deity. Good shout. What about that German-American left back? Yeah, Nathaniel Brown, we just don't know if he's going to pick us, right? But definitely somebody to watch going into next season. Anthony Robinson, speaking of left backs, also had a good game, helped to keep a clean sheet for Fulham against Brentford, played 90 minutes, 1 out of 1 successful dribbles, 0 out of 5 accurate crosses. Sounds like Anthony Robinson, doesn't it? 2 out of 3 tackles won, 4 out of 9 ground duels won, and 0 out of 3 aerial duels won. No Jogo love. Jogo has to get out of the second division of Spain right now, Steven. The problem with Jogo is he's 20 now, right? So almost 21, kind of stagnated, right? A little bit. He's been at Sociedad now for 2.5 years or 2 years total, and he just really hasn't made progress from playing in the second division of Spain. So if you want to play for the national team, you're going to have to do better than that, right? I mean, realistically nowadays, you're either in a top 6 league or you are playing for a Champions League team. That's just reality, because of the pool that we have. So, I'm not saying Jogo can never play for us or is never going to be good enough. I'm just saying right now, the rate of progress, he hasn't done anything to make people sit up and go, oh, this is a guy we should look at for, for our senior team. So, but Ricardo Pepi got his 11th goal contribution. So what's your case for Lund being in the team? Yeah, no, Rob, that's a very fair point. I will say, though, at least Lund has looked a little bit better than Jogo when he's played for the national team, right? But that's a fair point. He's also in the second division. I think the difference is that he's not playing for he's playing for a team that is pushing for promotion. He's delivered for them with goals and assists on a regular basis, whereas Jogo has not, right? His performances in the Italian second division have been better than Jogo's in the Spanish first division. I think that's probably the primary difference. But I'm not here demanding Lund be on the team. I think honestly, if we didn't have Olympics, I'd probably have Paredes as my second backup to Anthony Robinson at left back, right? If we because we have Olympics, I'd almost rather Paredes go there and then Lund be on the team, even though he probably won't really ever play. And if something happens to Anthony, honestly, we'd probably put Tim Weah or Austin Trusty there if we bring Austin Trusty. That's kind of how I look at it. But you have a fair point there about, him being in the second division. Yes, Julian Vivas. Who would you like to see in a 26-man roster, Pete? I would like Paredes as a backup left back over Lund. So again, Julian, probably I agree with you to a degree about that. But because of the Olympics, it might be slightly different. Kevin Paredes is probably a starter at the Olympics, whereas he might not really play at Copa America. So unless Wolfsburg doesn't want to bring him says no, they can't have him at the Olympics. In that case, I think absolutely bring him to Copa America. That's how I see it. All right. So Ricardo Pepi got his 11th, or is it the 12th now, goal of the season, or goal contribution of the season for PSV. Played 13 minutes, had the 1 assist. This was the assist. It was good work. He cut across the field under pressure. Ball came to him, and he just backheeled it into space quite nicely for his teammate to go. I think it was Jordan Teze, actually, who went on to score this goal. So good for him. Ricardo Pepi, I can double check this now, but his goal contributions per minutes played this season are off the charts. Partially because, he doesn't play a lot of minutes. But reality is, and, him and his agent came out and complained a few weeks back. And it's like, sure, I don't think that was the way to go necessarily. But also, the reality is, when he's been on the pitch, he's mostly performed. He's mostly delivered. So I can understand him feeling a little bit disenchanted with the amount of playing time he's gotten, right? It usually amounts to 10 or 15 minutes off the bench, which I think we all think is quite fair, right? But look at this. Ricardo Pepi has played a grand total of 705 minutes this season. And in those 705 minutes, he has got 11 goal contributions, 9 goals and 2 assists. So 705 divided by 11. That's 1 goal contribution every 64 minutes, right? Hard to argue with those kind of stats. Now you can look at, sure, some of them like, Volendam or Pexwall when you're winning 6-0 and he comes on, the team has already kind of given up. I get it. Not all of them were like, crucial goals, but there were some really good crucial goals, including the one against Arsenal in the Champions League, So I think Pepe needs to sit down with his reps this summer and sit down with Ernie Stewart and Peter Bosch and figure out what is the plan for next season. Because if the plan for next season is for this role, the same role, then I think he needs to go out on loan then and go get somewhere where he'll play. Now, if they expand his role, okay, because right now they're not even rotating De Jong at all. And De Jong is still young enough that he's going to certainly be the starter. And that's fine. I don't think Pepe was demanding to be the starter. But I think Pepe was thinking maybe I could get 30 minutes when we're winning 4-0 instead of 10. Maybe when we're, 10 points leading the league, you could let me start a game and rest him for the Champions League, right? There are different ways that you can still use Ricardo Pepi and continue to allow him playing time to further develop. That wouldn't necessarily hurt the team, but it would take a few minutes away from, Luke de Jong, which I don't think Luke de Jong would even mind necessarily that much, getting 60 instead of 90 sometimes, especially when the game is kind of wrapped up. So it's just something they have to figure out, that Pepe has to figure it out. And look, if they're not ready to give him that sort of a role, then he should ask for a loan, this offseason and go. Doesn't have to be a relegation team. He could play for a mid-table Eredivisie team and probably do okay, right? The President Chip, how you doing, man? He says, hey, Pete, long time no see. How is it going? Dortmund been cooking in UCL. Also, we doing a call-in show again soon. Yeah, I tried to do a call-in show a couple weeks back, presidentship, but nobody came on. So I'm probably going to just wait on that for now. Potentially in the summer during Copa America, we'll try to do more call-in shows. But yeah, good to see you, man. And thank you for the super chat. So that's the situation with Pepe. Go play for a mid-table club in the Eredivisie. Maybe PSV wouldn't loan him out to a Feyenoord or an Ajax, but maybe a Sparta Rotterdam or a Go Ahead Eagles or, a team like that. I think that could be more realistic, right? All right. But let's see what happens. Also, should Pepe go to both the Olympics and the Copa America this summer? In my opinion, yes. Brenden Aaronson got a nice assist for Union Berlin against VfL Bochum. They lost this game 4-3, but he played the 45 minutes. Also did miss one big chance. We should highlight that. 2 chances created, 5 out of 8 ground duels won, 1 out of 2 aerial duels won, and 2 fouls drawn. So well done, Brenden Aaronson, who's had a really, really rough season. But has had a few moments of quality. This was certainly one. And again, this just shows you the initial pass. But he actually ran into the channel, took it down on his chest, brought it down, forced his defender wide, cut it back in to create space for himself, and then laid it off. So, he's rounding into form just in time for the Copa America, which now might be a 26-man roster. And this week I'm going to do a video talking about, if it is a 26-man roster, who do we bring? What's the best way to approach this? So yeah, but good for Brenden. He's pushing for one of those last 3 spots in the roster. As many deficiencies as he has, the man doesn't stop working, and I'll give him credit for that. Jack McGlynn, who's being coveted by the Irish, had 2 gorgeous Golazo goals this week. One really nice one against the Seattle Sounders in midweek when he played 45 minutes. Also had 6 out of 8 long balls, 2 out of 2 tackles, 2 out of 4 ground duels won, 1 out of 1 aerial duels won. And then against DC United yesterday, he scored an even nicer Golazo to help them salvage a point. Boy, Jack McGlynn, I never thought I'd have him this high on the on a top 10 video, but here it is. This was the goal against Seattle, took it in his stride, and then just rocketed it into the far post. Really nicely done. And this was the one against DC United with a beautiful, and this was like postage stamp level top corner Golazo, unsavable. It was amazing. And, good for Jack. Look, McGlynn has other issues, right? There are issues that, again, similar to Aiden Morris. Don't get me wrong. He's a lot more technical than Aiden Morris, and he has a sweet left foot. But it's the build out under pressure. It's his work against the ball. There are things that make me wonder if it will translate outside of MLS. But I think it can. He just needs to go soon and not wait too long and get too comfortable in MLS. I think this summer is the time for Jack to go. Hopefully he has a good Olympics performance, and then it's time to go push yourself, and it's time to, preferably the Eredivisie. I think it's a good step up, but it's not so big of a step up like a top 5 league, which I don't think Jack is ready for, right? So go to the Eredivisie. Even Belgium wouldn't be terrible, but I like the Eredivisie better just for his level. And, hopefully he will learn to adapt to a quicker speed of play. And when it's not so congested in midfield, he's going to have to be more effective. And he doesn't really face that in MLS too often. But you can tell that's still an issue for him. All right, but good for him. Let's take nothing away from 2 amazing Golazos this week, right? I think a midfield trio of Tanner Tessman, Jack McGlynn, and Paxton Aaronson could be quite interesting this coming summer. Haji Wright, defying all the odds. He is still the most goal contributions this season of any American player. He finished with 26. He had 2 games, one against promotion chasing Ipswich in midweek, which they did end up getting promoted. Good for them. Played 90 minutes, scored a nice goal, created 1 chance, 1 out of 1 successful dribbles, 1 out of 3 ground duels won, 1 out of 3 aerial duels won. And then against QPR this weekend, he had a very nice assist, 2 chances created, 0 out of 1 successful dribbles, 3 out of 8 ground duels won, 2 out of 2 aerial duels won, 2 fouls drawn, and 2 fouls committed. This was the finish. And again, this is just the sketch, but he took this in his stride, turned with it, charged with the ball in order to create some space. He just needed half a yard of space to get past his man and then angled it really nicely into that far post. So well done. That was against Ipswich. And then on the weekend, he beat long forgotten Reginald Cannon. What a name. He cooked him. This was Reggie's first game in a long time. He hasn't been playing for QPR at all. But he cooked him and then crossed it nicely to the far post for his teammate to score. So good for Haji. Nice to see. That brings him to, I think, 19 goals and 7 assists on the season. 26 goal contributions. Pepsi Red says, Haji better be on the Olympics. He won't be on the Olympics. He's not Olympic eligible, and he will be in Copa America. He is a Copa America roster lock for sure. In my opinion, pushing to be a starter on the left with Pulisic on the right if we put Tim Weah at right back. But if not a starter, certainly one of the first attackers off the bench if we need a goal. Because what a season he's been having, right? So good for Haji. And he's also doing this all as a winger, which actually increases his chances. Because if he was doing all of this as a 9, it would still be very good. But, the competition now at the 9 is Sargent, Pepe, Balogun. It's much harder. Whereas on the wing, he's got significant, after Weah and Pulisic, there's almost no competition for him, really. So to be doing this as a left winger, and the fact that he's made that position change in the championship, it shows that this guy, it increases his national team chances and definitely increases his chances of going to the World Cup in 2026. But if he's healthy, which he should be, he is an absolute roster lock for Copa America. So well done, Haji. As far as where should he go, right? Look, they paid $9 million for him, which is a lot. But for the return they got, it's not that much. I mean, 27 goal contributions is not that high. I don't know if he's ready for the Premier League, guys. I think the Premier League might just be a step too far for Haji. But I think the Bundesliga or the French league could be quite interesting, right? Will he move this summer? I don't know. I think it would take a lot for them to sell him because he's, $9 million is what they paid. So they're probably looking for at least double that. Now, the question is, are any Bundesliga or French league teams now going to pay $20 million for a 26-year-old? I doubt it. It's possible. But I doubt it. So it'd just be interesting to see. Unless he has an amazing Copa America, I think he'll probably end up being in the championship, for at least the first half of next season. 27 goal contributions, not high. When did I say it was not high, Wuxia? Pete thinking it's still 07 with Messi and Ronaldo still going 8. When did I say it was not high? It is high. 27 goal contributions is good in any league, right? But also the championship, which is a difficult league. It's not like the Eredivisie where there are 5 teams you can just sort of pound on and beat up on, right? It's a very competitive league, and even the worst teams always make it difficult for you, right? Fumar Mota says, Haji didn't look underwear versus Man U. I think you meant he looked good against Man U. I must have misspoken. Okay, I didn't mean his production wasn't high. I was probably trying to say I I was probably trying to say that you need to give a very high, the purchase price for him would have to be quite high. I must have misspoke because definitely 27 is high. But look, you're right. Against Wolves and against Man United, he did look pretty good, right? It's like, okay, but does that then translate regularly, week in and week out in the Premier League? I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel great if it does. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic. I just think it's a big jump from the Championship to the Premier League. And I think, I've seen our guys, even our best players, right, struggle in the Premier League at times. So I almost don't want our guys going to the Premier. It's a very punishing league. The speed of play is very intense. Any deficiencies that you may have, they'll get exposed in the Prem. And it's a big, big jump. So let's see what happens. If he goes there, I'll be rooting for him. Obviously he probably won't be a 27 goal contributor in the Premier League, but if he can start regularly or, come off the bench start some and get 10 goal contributions, that's pretty good too. But let's see what happens. I think it's going to take some serious money to tempt Coventry to selling him. Last but not least, we have Christian Pulisic, who played 90 minutes versus Genoa, got 1 assist, 3 chances created, 2 out of 4 successful dribbles, 1 out of 1 accurate long balls, 4 out of 6 ground duels, 1 and 2 fouls drawn. Pulisic actually looked good in this game. Like last week, I didn't think he looked very good. He looked good in this game. Was very involved, constantly dangerous, forced Johan Vasquez into a nasty foul. That was one of the 2 fouls drawn. Like one of the last Mexicans in top 5 league left in Europe. Are Genoa getting relegated? I don't think they are. I think they're mid-table. But still, I think it's like Johan Vasquez, Edson Alvarez, and Raul Jimenez, who isn't even a starter for Fulham. So like 3 Mexicans left. Because Almeria is getting relegated from La Liga. And so Cesar Montes, after 2 relegations, is probably going to end up either back in Liga MX or MLS or have to go to a non-top 5 league because getting relegated twice doesn't look good on your center back resume. So that means, and then with Chucky coming back, that's going to mean only 1 player in the Champions League. And that's what's his name from Feyenoord, Santi Jimenez. And so 1 guy in the Champions League and only 3 in a top 5 league next season, potentially with Edson Alvarez, Raul Jimenez, and Johan Vasquez. And only 2 of those 3. Yeah, and Ochoa also got relegated with Salernitana. So it's like, that's not good. And it just continues to highlight how far Mexico have fallen when it comes to their player development, But this was the assist, that Christian Pulisic got. Surged past his player and then had a really nice chip into space. And then Giroud did the rest with a really nice volley to make it 3-2 or 2-2. No, it was 3-2. And then, it was 3-2. And then Genoa came and equalized late on. Poor Pioli, man. Pioli and what's his name? From Juve. Massimiliano Allegri are really under pressure, even though they're, 2nd and 3rd in Serie A. So we'll see what happens with our guys this summer. I mean, Weston McKennie probably isn't going to stay at Juve. Pulisic is 100% going to be at Milan. But we'll see who comes in to coach these teams. These were the bench. These were the guys that didn't quite make the top 10, but Quinn Sullivan had an assist for the Union in midweek against Seattle. Obed Vargas had a really nice golazzo for the Sounders against the Union. And what's interesting about Vargas is he's technically still U20 eligible for this cycle. He already played in the last cycle with the U20s, and he's still eligible for this cycle as well. He may or may not make the Olympics because he has competition from the likes of Tanner Tessman and Aiden Morris. But if he's with the U20s again, just think of the experience and the maturity and the quality that he'll bring to that team. Alejandro Zendejas continues his fine form with Club America. He got another assist, this time against Pachuca. Actually, it was his second assist. He had a goal against Pachuca in the first leg, and in the second leg, he had a nice assist against Pachuca. They still ended up losing, and Pachuca ended up going to the final. Conrad de la Fuente got a goal and an assist for Eibar in the Spanish second division, so good for him. We need to start seeing that more consistently from Conrad before we talk about him making a comeback. Jacob Murrell for DC United. He was a striker that spent 1 year in the college game, just one. He was drafted by DC, has played 7 games so far for them this season, and is still just 20. So, he's not a teenager or anything, but it's interesting to see what he'll look like for the rest of the season. But good for him. Got a nice goal against the Union. Patrick Schulte was a key player in Columbus Crew making the CONCACAF Champions Cup final with 6 saves versus Monterrey. Tack and I both think Patrick Schulte should probably be our number 1 for the Olympics, just because of his age, quality, and experience. But he'll probably have to fight. Gabriel Slonina. I don't think the Fire are going to release Brady. Got to stay in Chicago and learn how to lose, Chris. Those are the rules. Music video uploader with actually a good point. He's right. That's not Obed Vargas. That is Josh Atencio. The picture is Josh Atencio. My bad. I think I forgot to change it or something. But you're right. That is Josh Atencio. Obed Vargas is a different kid. Yes, different kid. Obed Vargas, yeah, that's not him. That is not him. I think I had it labeled wrong when I put him up there. My bad. So, yeah, good for the bench. Colorado is going on right now versus NYCFC so far. I mean, Zach Steffen is playing. Cole Bassett got an assist for Miguel Navarro. Has Georgi Mihailovic been benched? No, that can't be. Oh, he's injured. He's injured until mid-June. All right, guys. You picked the wrong Mexican-American, Cinco de Mayo. My bad. Sorry. My apologies to Obed and also to, what's his name? Josh Tencio. Shouldn't Cochin start at the Olympics? Fumar, that's a really tough one. He has no professional soccer under his belt. I think it would be very risky to start an 18-year-old in the Olympics with no professional experience. As talented as he might be, that would be a big, big risk. I think Cochin should be the starter for the U20s, right? He should be the number 1 for the U20s with Gavin Beavers backing him up from Real Salt Lake, potentially Patrick Los. But I think, yeah, that's a little premature. We're trying to do something in the Olympics. It's risky to do that with a guy who has no professional minutes. But definitely one for the future. I mean, we also already have Brady, Slonina, and Schulte, who are all competing for Olympic minutes. Could Steffen become a factor by Copa? Yes. I actually think Steffen will be the 3rd keeper at Copa America. I think Greg will bring him as the 3rd keeper, which honestly I'm fine with. It's better than Drake Callender or Roman Celentano at this point. So if you're not going to bring the Olympic keepers, then I'm fine with Zach Steffen being the 3rd keeper. How is he doing, TZA? He says, I'm watching Steffen right now. What I've seen of Steffen so far, he looks good for Colorado from the games that I've watched. But I don't know how he's doing today. I'm not watching. So if one of you is watching, let me know how he's doing. Why does Chicago have to be such a dumpster fire, says Pepsi Red. Oh, y'all really trying to get me on another fire rant, huh? Thiago Martin says, do you think is Pepe mentally prepared to do this? What do you mean? Do you mean to have a conversation with the PSV management in the summer? I don't think that's a difficult thing to do. You just have to be honest and talk. Like, it's better to go talk to them one-on-one rather than, make a public stink about it. Yosef says, do you think we'll test out Adams plus Johnny together? I don't even know if Adams is going to be in Copa America or if he'll even be fit enough to play. So I doubt it. Tyler Adams is becoming quite worrying. Somebody's asking, when are you going to do the Copa America roster prediction? This week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll have my new Copa America roster prediction considering the potential of it being a 26-man roster now. So, all right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Happy Sunday. Happy Cinco de Mayo to those of you who are celebrating. You guys have a great one. I will see you midweek where we'll do Copa America roster. We're almost just a month out, guys, from Copa America beginning, and we are just a month out from our first friendly versus Colombia. Wait, is Colombia first or is Brazil first? Double check. I think it's Colombia first. Yes, Colombia first on June 8th, and then Brazil is on June 12th. And then we kick off our Copa America campaign on June 23rd. But we're also going to cover the other games in Copa America. So stay tuned for more information on that. Have a great rest of your Sunday, guys. Happy week, and see y'all soon. Oh, and thank you to Underdog Fantasy Sports for sponsoring the stream. Smash the like button, guys, before you leave so that other people can find this video later. All right, talk to you soon.